to the channel. It is your girl Lana Simone. So first of all, I wanted to welcome you guys in. I hope and pray that you're having an amazing day. So today we're going to be talking about finding peace in the storm. And I think this is so important. Oftentimes, we go through life and, sometimes we just can't find peace. We can't find rest. We can't find just a place to take a break and breathe. And so, recently I found myself in a place like that. I was just very overwhelmed with work. I was very overwhelmed with just life, being a young adult, just trying to figure things out, trying to, just live a good life. And I talk on my channel all the time. I always talk about God, have a relationship with him, and which that is like a number one priority in my life. But sometimes we face difficulty. Sometimes we face life just hits us, whether you believe in God or not. You can't escape life and the pressures of life and the demands of life. And so me, I've always worked ever since I was like 12, and just consistently, and I've always had like that work ethic and that goal oriented and just that type of mindset. But recently I think that it's kind of gotten to a point where I was like, okay, I need some support, I need some help, because you do so much stuff on your own, and then you get to a point it's like, okay, I need some help. Jesus, send me some help. So thank God that I have a support system that God has placed around me to be able to help me in difficult times. But sometimes you're faced with moments of your life where, yes, you may have support, but you get to a point to where sometimes it's just you and God. And this is exactly why I really encourage people to have a relationship with God, because I got to a point to where it was just me and God. And like I said in my last video, I was going to share more with you guys about just my journey that I've been on the past few weeks. And like I said, I've been very overwhelmed with work a lot, and just just the pressures of life, and just making sure that I'm living right, making sure that I'm doing right, making sure that I'm adulting, and making sure my bills is paid, making sure I show up to work every day, all that stuff, like just normal life stuff. A lot of people kind of just live life willy-nilly. I really try to take life seriously, especially when you're on your own and you gotta pay your own bills. You gotta take your life seriously. I mean, you don't, but then you add more stress, and it's like, it's already enough stress just dealing with life, so I'm not adding no more stress, no more unnecessary stress. So but for me, just living life, have a relationship with God, I feel like I still dealt with stress. I feel like I was very overwhelmed, and I got to a point where I isolated myself, and I think that's where I kind of messed up, because it's like God even says in his word it's not good for man to be alone. But for me, I just got to a place where I just isolated myself a lot in my work, and a lot just being by myself. When you're living by yourself, it's very easy to isolate yourself. And so unfortunately what happened was I basically started dealing with depression heavy. I started dealing with anxiety heavy. And when you get to a point, like there's like a normal point, and then there's a point where it's like, okay, you need help. And I think I got to that point, and thank God, like my mom had came to my house, and she was like, Alana, like, why you got stuff like like I'm a very like put together person. Like I try to clean up my house, keep my house clean, but your girl, let me tell you, I had stuff on my steps, stuff like I had the shoe rack by my door, it was just down on the ground. I was really going through it, and I didn't even know, because it's like when you live by yourself, there's nobody to really check you or say anything. So my mom had came over, and she was like, girl, you okay? I'm like, sis, what are you talking about? She like, why is this on the ground? Why is this like this? And I'm like, listen, I don't even know. But I just was so overwhelmed with just life, and just making sure you just get to a point where you're just doing the bare minimum, like showing up to work, getting your job done so you don't get fired. And then you come home. Okay, did I eat today? Yes, no, okay. drink some water, you know, and stuff like that. So that's where I was at, but that was not healthy. And I recognized that, but this is why I'm so glad that my mom came over and she was like, girl, what's going on? So, you know, she had planned like a weekend away just to get me out of my house. But I feel like it was at the point so much to where I should have got help sooner. And so since I didn't, I got to a point, a level of depression and anxiety and isolation to where I needed more help. And so I ended up in the hospital maybe 2 weeks ago now, or like a week ago. I don't know when this video will drop, but at this moment, I think this will drop in like November, but at this moment, it was about like a little over a week ago. I was in the hospital, and I ended up going to a hospital that dealt with mental illness or like mental health. Sorry, yeah. So I'm just imagining you're like living your life, you got a good job, like you got your own place, you got your own car, you living your life, and then one day you end up in a hospital and they're basically telling you got to admit, and you know, you can't have your phone, none of that. And I'm sitting there like, oh no, what's going on? So your girl's life flashed before her eyes, and I was like, okay, this is real, because what is this? But let me tell you, like, in that moment when they dropped me off, I went to one hospital, then they dropped me off at this other one. At that moment, it's like I woke up. I sat there, you know, I didn't have my phone, I didn't have my wallet, I didn't have my keys, nothing. And they were just basically like, you know, you got to check yourself in here. And I'm like, what? Like, what happened? Like, you just start questioning, like, how did I get here? And so that's where, I was at that point, and I'm like, what's going on? My parents came to see me, and then they left. And I was just sitting there like, what just happened? Like, I was just on top. I was just, killing it out here. But now I'm in a hospital that deals with mental health issues. And so I sat there, they, filled out my paperwork and was just like, nurse was like, you have, it's your, it's not like this is the end. Cause I'm like, oh my God, this is how I'm going out. Like, this is how I'm going out. I can't tell my people on YouTube. This is how I'm going out. But honestly, I was embarrassed because I'm sitting there like, girl, you over here trying to help people with these issues with mental health and all that stuff, and you over here dealing with it yourself. And I was like, dang, like, that's crazy, so I was just sitting there like, oh God, like, what the heck did I just do? So anyway, I sat there, the nurse went over like the guidelines and was just like, it's your job, like, you can work through this, most people, I'm like, how long do people stay here, like, what's going on? And there she was like, it's like usually 5 to 7 days people come out of here. It's just up to you on the progress you make. Sometimes people can come out before, sometimes people have to stay longer. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm trying to get the first ticket out, because I'm like, first of all, how did I get here? I got a whole apartment, I got my car, I got my job at home, what's going on? And like, no. So I was just like, relax, sis. Okay. And so my parents came, they was like, hey, like, you'll be out soon, blah blah. And I'm like, whatever. So I went in there. Let me tell you, the first day was kind of rough because it was like the first time I got to like really face myself, my real self. I had my hair out, like, y'all be seeing me with like my braids and like my little passion twist, or like my, my hair straightened or curled or whatever. But like I had my hair in like a ponytail, and I just had like regular outfit on, all this stuff, which just casual, like just like how I'm on here, but just like really like the real me, like just like right now I don't have no makeup on, but I didn't have no makeup on then, but just like all me was there, just me, no phone, no cell phone, none of that. And so just very humbling experience. The first day I was like, okay, I'm trying to get out. I called my mom. I'm like, I'm trying to get out of here. She was like, okay, blah, blah, I'll pick you up tomorrow morning. And then tomorrow morning came, she picked me up. So I I got to a point though, like, thank God, I'm rambling, but I want to kind of sum this up. I got to a point to where I was humbled, and I thank God that I was so humbled. Like, I live a pretty humble life, but in a sense to where I was humble with myself, and I finally got to face my true self. You get to a point in life where we try to run, you know, we try to forgive other people, we try to do all this stuff, but the person that we're really running from is ourselves a lot of time when we deal with depression, when we deal with anxiety, when we deal with the pressures of life. And so that's who I was running from, was me, dealing with me, and why I got myself to the point of isolation and depression and anxiety, feeling so much anxiety. And so when I realized that, I'm like, dang, girl, how did we get here? And instead of beating myself up, because the first couple days I was like, girl, you're done. You're done. Like, this is embarrassing. How did you get to this point? Why would you let the stress and the pressures of life get you to this point? Like, you're done. This is done. This is embarrassing. Then you got people out here praying for you, trying to, you know, pray you through. That's even more embarrassing because now they think you crazy. And I'm like, you know, all these thoughts that the enemy's trying to put in my head, like, girl, this is you? What's going on? I thought you was like on top, killing it, and now you here getting help for mental issues. And I'm like, dang, like, and the enemy just pouring in lies and just like making you just knock you down. And it was at a point where I felt like I was really going to give up. You know, I'm a very strong person, I feel like, but I was at a point to where I got so low to where it was like, I don't know if I could come out of this. And I've never gotten to that point. I've gotten to like rock bottom, but like this was like a different point in my life to where I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it out of this. Because it's like you go so hard, and when you isolate yourself and deal with depression and anxiety so much, and then you get to a point to where everything's like kind of taken from you, and you have no other choice but to face yourself. You now is like realize, like, how did I get here? And so that's what I was dealing with. And so thank God, of course, like I said, you have to have a support system around you that will help pull you out of your darkest place. And so to me, I was in a dark place, and basically what looked like was bad was actually God doing something good in my life. So I'm getting pulled away from all my stuff, everything I know, taken to a hospital where I'm like even more isolated. But it was a blessing in disguise, because let me tell you, once I got past like the first 2 days, I had to make up a decision in my mind to say if I was going to fight or flight. And I said, no, I've come too far. God has brought me too far to quit now, to give up now. And so I took a stance and said, you know what, enemy, you're going to stop playing with me today. You've been playing with me these past few weeks, these past few months, but today you're going to stop. And I got up and said, you know what? I know who I am. I know who God has called me to be. I know he has a purpose and plan for my life. I know that my voice is going to impact generations to come. So I need to get up. I need to take a stance. I need to fight this. I don't need to run from this. I need to face this head on. You know, sometimes you got to come up out of the fire that you've been in and look at the enemy and say, listen, not today. And that's what I had to say. I said, not today. You've been tormenting me. You've been, you know, pressuring me and doing all this stuff these past few months, playing with me like I'm something to play with. I said, oh, honey, no, I'm not a game. I'm not a Connect Four game, put a piece in and you win. No, sir. We're not doing that, okay? So I got up, I got on the phone, I said, Mom, I just need you to pray for me. I said, one thing I am going to do is make it out of here, but I need you to pray for me. You better know that when you're faced with difficult situations, you better know who to call. First of all, you better call Jesus, but you better have somebody around you that you can call and ask one simple thing. I need you to pray for me. And so that's all I asked. I said, I don't have really much to say. You come to a point where you accept where you are, but in you accepting it, it's not accepting that that's your final destination, but you're accepting where the enemy may have brought you. but you better know the words to say to get you up out of there. And so I said, I need you to pray for me. I pray for everybody else and all this stuff. I said, but I need today for you to pray for me. And so I don't want to get emotional because it's powerful what happened. And that's why I said, Mom, I need you to pray for me. Sorry, I'm not trying to get emotional. And she said, okay, Alana, I'm praying for you. We got a group of people that's been praying for you. And I said, thank you. I said, I'm gonna fight this, you know. She said, yeah, I know you are. Whew. And after that, because I was in pain, my body was in pain, my mind, I felt like I couldn't get control over my mind. It was just a lot that I was going through mentally. And then I'm being put in the part of the hospital that was like in the basement. So it was like no outside sun, none of that. So let me tell you, when I tell you this was a fight for my life. And so after that, I said, you know what, we're gonna get through this. And all I needed to hear at that moment was that somebody was praying for me, and that somebody was there for me, even though they weren't around me and I couldn't really see anybody, you know, because you can only have like visitation so often. I knew that somebody still cared. And so thank God, you know, that I had that conversation, because then that allowed me to be able to move forward. And my mom gave me 3 simple steps. And she was like, you need to eat, you need to drink some water, you need to take the medication that they were going to give me to help me sleep, because I was having trouble sleeping. And I was like, okay. And after that, let me tell you, the Spirit of the Lord came over me so strong. And it was like I was empowered. And I just began to write in my journal, just like he was just downloading me strategy, scriptures, and encouragement to speak over myself, to take back control over my mind. And in that moment, I felt rejuvenated. I felt like he was restoring me, because I got to a point to where I just felt so defeated. You let life knock you down so much, you feel like you can't get up. And sometimes the enemy, he comes after the strongest ones. He don't go for like the little weak ones, because he like, listen, I ain't messing with them. He go after the ones that are strong and that God wants to use mightily in this world. So when the enemy tries to come in and make you feel like you're less than and you're weak or you're not worth something, listen, you better know who you are. You better know whose you are. And you better stand up and act like it. And you better use your voice and speak like it. You hear me? So after that, it's like the game changed. God reminded me who I am. God reminded me whose I am. And he reminded me that if he is for me, no one can be against me. Not even the lies of the enemy, not even the people that he tries to put around me. You know, the enemy that he tries to use to be able to discourage me. None of that matters. All that matters is what God said. And so I got up out of that bed and I started walking around and praying over myself. I started walking around and speaking life over myself. I started laying hands on my own mind. You better know who you are, because when you're faced with difficult situation in life and you're up against a fight, you win with God on your side. Yes, people were praying for me, which was important, but in that moment, it was me and God. And that's all I had to get me up out of there. And so thank God, I started speaking over my mind. I started eating. I started drinking water. My body started to reset. I started to come back to my mind. I started to have more clarity. I started to have more wisdom on how to fight this. Day by day, I didn't even have to take the medication that they were offering me for sleeping, because my body started naturally resetting and aligning with the word of God, where he said that I'm already healed, that I have a sound mind. that God did not give me a spirit of fear. You hear what I'm saying? So all this to say, we all go through things. I may not look like what I've been through, but let me tell you, I done been through some things. I done been through the fire. The fire, I'm telling you. But let me tell you something. When you come out of the fire of life and life challenges and life circumstances and all that stuff, you better know who you are. You better know whose you are. Because when you come out, they're going to look at you like, how did she survive this? How did he survive this? I seen what the enemy tried to do in their life. I seen the attacks they came up against, but yet they still stand. Yet they still open their mouth and speak. Yet they still hold the power and the authority that only comes from Jesus Christ. Yet the trials and tribulations of life try to take her or him down, but yet somehow they keep on rising up against it. They keep on opening their mouth and speaking. How is that possible? When I checked into the hospital, most people would have probably counted me for dead. What it looked like to the physical eye is that I was going down. I was going way down. And there was really no chance of hope, really, for me to come back up. But God said, I'm not finished with you yet. God said, I still have more in store for your life. God said, I still have a purpose and plans for your life. I declared that in my word. I spoke you into existence. I chose you. I called you. I don't need man's approval. I don't need man's opinion. All I need is what I said over your life to come forth. And so if God said this, and it's like, all we have to do is take him at his word and believe him and have the faith enough to know that he knows what's best for us and the trust in him. We don't put our trust in man. We should put our trust in God. He knows the plans that he has for us. The doctors, the people around you will count you out while God is still counting you in. You hear what I'm saying? God never counted me out. He was counting me in all along. So if you let the enemy and the lies that he tries to put into your mind, and a lot of times it's the people closest to you that he'll use to try to discourage you. If you let him win, you can end up forfeiting the things that God has for your life. Not God, but you. You see what I'm saying? And so for me, I said, oh, no, sir. God said what he said. And so if he said what he said, then that means I still have purpose. I still have a calling. I still have a generation to impact and reach. So my life is not over. My life is really just getting started with the things and the plans that God has for me. So, I'm just sharing this with you guys to encourage you. And one thing about my channel is I want to always constantly be real with you and be transparent, to know that I'm not perfect. I am human just like each and every one of you. I go through life challenges just like each and every one of you. I am not exempt. I am not put on a pedestal, and I pray people don't put me on a pedestal because I am not God. I have God in my life. I have a personal, close relationship with him, but I am not God. I never want to be God. God is God all by himself, and he deserves all the glory and honor that is given unto him. And I pray each and every day that my life gives him the glory and honor that he deserves. It's not by me. It's not my might, by my power. It's by the Spirit of the Lord that lives within me, that I can come forth on the screen to help encourage other people through. To be knocked down to my lowest point, to now rise up with dignity and with strength and with power to proclaim God's goodness and to tell you that he's still in the business of working miracles. He's still in the business of saving lives. He's still in the business of doing things that we couldn't even imagine. That's why the fight is so hard for a lot of you, for a lot of us. Because when we recognize who we are, the enemy gets scared. Because if we recognize who we are, then we have the potential to influence, to impact the world in a mighty way. So that's the thing. That's why I always tell people, the enemy always overplays his hand. Because you tried to play me. He tried to play me. And God said, hold on. This mine right here. And so he like, oh, shoot. Dang, I think I just played the wrong one. You did. Because you tried to knock me down, but now I'm up here talking to the people again. And I look better than when I left, in my own opinion. Not to toot my own horn, but you better look better. Especially when the enemy try to take you, when you go through the fire and the enemy will try to take you down, you better come up and let them know this not the one to play with, okay? You better let them know. You better take a stance. You better talk differently. You better come correct. Just like he need to come correct, you better come correct with the authority and power that you hold with having the true living God on your side. You see what I'm saying? So, ooh, I'm fired up. Let me stop. I need to relax. But I'm so excited because God is so good. You know, for me, I know he has so much planned for my life, just like he has so much planned for each and every one of you guys. And I share my, story today of how I overcame, mental illness a few weeks ago. It'll probably be over a month ago now when this video drops, but just to encourage you. I need you to be encouraged. We don't go through things for just ourselves. We go through things to come out of it and overcome it. So now we can encourage somebody else who may be dealing with the same thing to make it through. So this video is kind of long, but I really wanted to share this with you because it's important. We're coming into months where people are dealing with mental health issues, or dealing with depression, or dealing with anxiety heavy. But we don't have to allow that to defeat us. We don't have to allow that to overtake us, overwhelm us. We can fight back against these things that the enemy tries to bring into our life, and we can win, we can overcome, and we can encourage people by our testimony of faith. So be encouraged today, you guys. I am so excited to be here. I'm excited to have more videos for you guys. And yeah, I just thank you so much for being here. And I pray, just like how I recognized who I was in one of the most difficult seasons of my life, I pray you recognize the same. I am alive, I am well, I am whole. I have my mind back, I have my apartment back, I have my car back, everything back within, they said the doctors expected 5 to 7 days of improvement, but I came out within 4 days. So let me tell you how good God is. Let me tell you how he restores, he redeems, and he sets you up. When the enemy's trying to take you down, God is setting you up to propel you forward into the destiny that he has for your life. So I am so blessed. I'm so just thankful and on fire for God like never before. I've always been like that. I've always been like worked up, but listen, the enemy tried it, and now he tried the wrong one. And so I'm just like, oh Lord Jesus, you should have took me out while you can, because now I'm back, and this is not gonna be good. But for him, it's gonna be good for y'all, but not for him. So I am so grateful for you guys, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.